What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back today with another 6-ring siege video for Danmachi Freeze. Today we're taking on the Earth event, and I've got a weird team here. Now, one of the things I've been trying to do is I'm trying to build teams that are not just chock full of Maxima broken units. Now, so we are running that Ryu. I'm going to just blaze through the units because the units are very similar, and we'll talk about what they do here in a moment. Hero Festa Ryu, very strong, very good unit. We are running this Reveria. We are running obviously the Lightheart Hime and the same single target buffing and HP regenning Winnie that we've been running on literally every other event. And finally, we've got this Wind Fianna. Now, Fianna was recently rerun. I'm going to run her even though I did try to avoid as many of those time-limited weird to obtain units as possible, but she did recently rerun. Most people playing the game, in fact, I wouldn't say all, but I'd say a good majority of the people playing the game easily had an opportunity to obtain her. She has been around. Now, assist-wise, we're running this recently free-to-play Leafia. She's a strength, magic, physical resistance, and magic resistance debuffer. She also does instant KO save to everybody on the team. Very good, very strong unit. Attached to the Magic Ryu, we have Hermes to debuff magic resistance. Very important unit to us. Going to be very critical to the end game here. We are, of course, running Finn here. Finn is going to debuff wind resistance. Also fire resistance, but wind resistance is the big one. Per usual, we're running the new Loki for the SAH charge buff. Now, I'm going to swap this guy out for Felice, the same single target Felice we've been running for a while. Our opponent will buff her AoE resistance. You know what? Actually, I take that back. I'm going to leave him on here because two reasons. Number one, you could run an assist that's not maxed out broken. Once again, tie it to one of your sack units. But also, number two, he will debuff AoE and single target units. Now, I probably have the means to max them break him. I just haven't yet. But that is a thing. Finally, I'm running Akari. Now, Akari is a crossover unit from a while ago. If you don't have her, just run whoever will buff your wind attack damage to the max. That looks like she is a magic unit, but she has physical attack, so she's a weird build. Now, for Memoria, I'm just buffing my... that says earth attack damage. Why is that earth attack damage and strength? We need wind attack damage is what we need. So let's get on here and find our wind attack damage. Let's see. We need late game wind attack damage. We're going to go ahead and buff magic here because most of our units are magic. So let's go ahead and get rid of the strength buff and let's get this wind attack damage 1 to 2 turns. We went late game. Fire, thunder. Let's see. Earth and water, light and dark. Did we miss it? All fire, thunder, wind, earth. Okay, there's wind. I overlooked it. So I think that is going to be, and I'm going to get rid of the SAH charging. I don't think it's going to be super important. I don't even think it's going to change what turn everything happens on. I still think we're going to get our quad on turn 10 no matter what we do. You can rush it with several different units, but I don't think it's going to happen in this event. So let's find our late game strength buff. There's strength 1 to 7. We're looking for strength, there we are, 8 to 15. Perfect. So now we're going to go into the fight. Now, I've not run this exact team. This exact team is not a team that I have vetted on this event. So do take this with a grain of salt, but I feel pretty confident with this team. So we're going to open up with Ryu here. And we're ready to start her buff skill. Pretty easy stuff. Now, she's going to buff 33% as a gauge charge. Main reason we are using Hime still is for her physical and magic resistance buff. That's going to make sure that we're not taking excess damage on these early units. Now, this Ryu, we don't have to worry about with that. She's going to start her buff and debuff stack like anybody else. She does a ton of stuff here, but now the status debuff down 2 turns is going to be huge because our opponent is going to debuff our damage. So we need that extra action with her. So we're going to have to keep her extra action in play. We're going to pay very, very, very close attention to that to make sure it stays in play. Reverie, on the other hand, same difference. Most of these units are 1, 2, 3 builds, meaning you buff one, buff 2, 3 becomes their single target DPS. So we're going to deviate from that very little. So Ryu, once again, like I said, we're going to continue everything with her skill 2. Same with the other Ryu. And same with Reveria. Winnie's going to go and do her skill 2 because that's where she gets her single target and her HP regen buffs. So, once again, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Now, we do have some weaker units on here, and this Fianna is only +3. Only +3. And not max ascended. So, it'll be interesting to see how she fares, but we have debuffed her opponent enough. I think we are going to be fine. So I'm going to go back and do this skill 1 for the 33% SCH charging. We don't necessarily need it, but I'm going to rebuff it anyway. Then we'll go do our skill 3 with these guys. Just get the best out of their buffing. And with Fianna, we're going to go ahead and start her buff stack. Once again, pretty straightforward. Now my goal here is to get a quad SA on like turn somewhere between 9 and 11. I think 9's out of the question because we really need some more SA gauge charging on the team than we have. 11 is most likely. 10 or 11 is most likely where it's going to happen. Okay? So then I can go back and do her single target. Now let's make sure all the buffs are in play. Looks like buffs are good here. Let's go and see here. Buffs all look pretty good. We need to make sure that there's some buff replication going on in this turn. But beyond that, everything looks pretty good. So everyone's going to go ahead and kind of continue on here. Now, we want to look at extra actions. Noble Heart will need to be rebuffed next turn. Reveria's 2 turns left, so it'll need to be rebuffed next turn. So now Fianna comes in here. She just did Saint's Inspiration. So status debuff +1 turn, and this is going to do a status buff +3 turns. So everyone will be fine there. Now, debuff-wise, let's see. Debuff-wise will be good as well. It's only going to add 1 turn, but it's going to add 1 turn for a good duration. So I'm not terribly worried about that. I think we're going to be just fine here with all of our debuffs. So let's continue on. Okay. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now, I want you to bear in mind that she does have an AoE resistance debuff on her. So, you know, all of that is something you definitely want to take into account here. So, on this turn, Luminous Memory is good. We will just continue doing her big single target. But Noble Heart would need to be rebuffed. Let's see. Ripple Blaster will need to be rebuffed. Ripple Blaster. And she's got 2 turns left on Saint's Inspiration, so we can go ahead and do her big single target. Now, let's see here. Status buff +3 turns. She's still got her extra action, so debuffs are going to continue being replicated. And debuffs look still pretty good. The 1 unit resist is still up, but we'll go ahead and remove that on this turn. There we go. Remember, this opponent is all about removing your ability to produce damage, so you need to get rid of those buffs. I think that buff is gone this turn. Somebody that removes all debuffs would be better than most of the units that I'm running, but I'm just, once again, trying to run units that I think the vast majority of people out there could run. So my team may not be, quote-unquote, optimal, but it's what we have at our disposal. So I think she's going to need to be rebuffed here. Yep, Luminous Memory will need to be rebuffed. Noble Heart just got a rebuff, so we're going to go ahead and put her back on her big single target. Let's see what debuffs are in play. So we have Wind Attribute down, 40%, 1 unit resistance, Strength, Magic Agility, and Magic Resistance. So we really need physical resistance back up there. And I think her extra action will do that. Let's see, do we need that though? Yes, Saint's Inspiration needs to be done on this turn. Ripple Blaster is good, so we'll go ahead and do that there. Let's double check our debuffs though. Single target plus 30%, wind resistance down 40%. That should easily be in play. Yep, that is definitely in play. Let's see. Strength magic buffs on foes. Yeah. So, let's do physical and magic resistance down 30%. That's still in play, I believe. Let's see if that's still in play. Yep. That looks like that is still in play. It could be rebuffed and extended. But honestly, we don't really need to. I'll be honest with you guys. We just, it's not necessary. So we can just go on and do her third skill. It is what it is. Let's see. Single target plus 30. Yeah. So we were just there. Now, one thing is I want to make sure that she has her magic. She has her magic buff, which she does not have. So we need to go ahead and do her skill 2 again. Very important. We need to make sure that that stays in play because that's how she's producing damage. Same with this unit. Let's see. Looks like our opponent, I'm not sure if our opponent removes those buffs, but they don't seem to be in play here. So I'm going to have to go ahead and just did wind attack damage 80%. It was removed, so maybe. Nope, there's wind attribute damage. So, no, she's good. She's good. She doesn't need a strength buff, so we'll go ahead and do her skill 2 as well. And Ryu needs Luminous Memory, and she needs Saints. So there we go. So, a little bit of an interesting build, but that's kind of where we're at. The downside is notice how little damage our opponent has taken. And that is kind of the big downside to this. If you're not removing her debuffs, you're just not producing damage. Now, the good news is, go up here, magic resistance. So now we have magic resistance up 30%. Physical resistance and all unit resistance. We need to get rid of those resistance buffs. So, 40% for each target strength, magic, and magic resistance buff skill. Great. I believe this one actually says buffs down 2 turns. We could do that, but we're going to go ahead and do this here. That's going to cause her to do a ton of damage. This would remove it, but I think we're going to be fine for now. We're just going to kind of continue on. Big single target, and big single target. The downside is I don't think we're actually going to remove the buffs on this turn, so we may have to do an SA to do that. But we're so close to our quad, I think we're just going to hold out for that. And then essentially what we're going to do is we're going to reuse SA every other turn after that to just keep, probably every third turn after that to keep up the damage. So, third skill going on. Luminous Memory needs 2 turns. By that point, we'll have SA'd. Ryu has lost everything. Why did Ryu lose everything? Okay. Yeah, looks like these guys lost everything. So, buffs were removed at some point. So, we're going to have to go ahead and rebuff literally everything. I'm going to do a full complement of buffs all the way around. There we go. So we'll be redoing buffs, redoing debuffs. There's turn 8. As I said, turn 9 is going to be what it is. So we'll go ahead and do all of this. Basically, reapplying everything. Reapplying everything. I completely didn't even notice she did that last time because we've been, you know, kind of struggle busting our way through this. But it is very important to note she really hasn't. Because of her resistance buffs, she's not really taking damage. But that's why we're using the first place in this stack. So she's going to do 120 per each target, strength, magic, and magic resistance buff skill, alter and guard rate, self-forward actions, and then stats buff down 2 turns for the foe. Tell you what. I think we honestly need a turn or 2 of that before we're really able to do anything. So let's do that. Let's do hers. Because I don't think we're going to be able to produce damage. I think, honestly, the wiser maneuver here early on was to kind of spam her SA and do everybody's third skill. The more I'm really looking at this, that's kind of the way this is designed. So let's see how her buffs are doing. Her buffs are gone. So now we could do a triple. But I'm going to go ahead and do everybody's single, and I'm going to work back up to the quad. Let's see if we can do this. Now, obviously, at this juncture, you can already take one look at this and go, the S clear's out of the question. Not this team can't do it. Just the way we're built, it ain't going to happen. Okay. Magic resistance is buffed. Okay. We're going to do this one more time. I think a lot of people's skills are going to be removed here. So magic is removed. Is she going to reapply her resistance debuffs? That's the big question. Does not... Okay, maybe she does it here. I haven't actually gone this far in the fight yet, so this will be interesting to see. So no, the resistance buffs are not in play. Most of our buffs are in place, so we're going to go ahead and do a quad SA and see how much damage this provides. So the honest answer is there's a mistake for me early on is not using reuse SA often enough so we could produce damage. Now, if you're going for the S clear, that is something that's going to be really important. This is a bit of a tricky run. But notice now we're producing damage. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have to make sure everyone's buffs are good, everyone's extra actions are good, keep those up, and then in essence, keep using, at this point, just keep using everybody's single target attacks, rebuffing the extra actions, and then using reuse SA when the first reuse SA when possible. This Ryu right here, using her SA whenever possible to get rid of those resistance buffs. See, they're back in play. We need to keep those kind of gone. So her SA doesn't do it, but the extra action on her SA does it. So we really need to use that to rebuff her extra action, and then you'll be able to continue on with this. That's pretty much the key here. I'm going to go on. I'm going to get my B clear. Pretty straightforward, but the S clear, that's going to be a tricky one. We'll come back and talk about that a little bit later, but proof you could do this without a really beefy team. It's all about being smart with your turns, smarter than I was apparently, and those debuffs that help you. Offensive debuffs and defensive buffs. So, like, comment, share. I'll be back with the next 6 Ring Siege coming up real soon.